You've been sitting here, holding your breath for so long, waiting for somebody to tell you it's okay to start living. Waiting for a nod, an invitation, a green light from people who are too busy with their own insecurities to even notice you're standing there ready to run. But what if I told you no one's coming with a clipboard to check off your name and hand you a slip that says, "You're approved to be great now"? What if I told you that the only permission you've ever needed has been in your hands the entire time? We get so conditioned to think growth is something we earn only after other people think we're worthy of it. Like you have to first impress them, convince them, earn their applause before you can move, but that's a trap. That's how you lose years of your life standing in line for a door you could have walked through on your own. You keep looking at other people's faces, reading their expressions like they have the authority to dictate your next step. You stop yourself mid, dream because you're wondering if it looks too big, too bold, too much. But the truth is, your dream is the exact size it was meant to be, and it was planted in you for a reason. Some of you have been carrying an idea, a vision, a change you want to make, but you keep telling yourself, "I'll start when I feel more ready. I'll go when they believe in me. I'll move when they give me the chance." But the reality is that moment never comes. Readiness is a myth. People's approval is unstable. And opportunities, most of the time, you have to create them with your own hands. That's why the most dangerous thing you can do is wait for someone else to unlock your destiny. Because here's the truth, they don't have the key. You have to decide that the calling you feel is enough. That the fire in your chest is not an accident. You have to trust that the one who put that dream inside you didn't make a mistake. And he didn't intend for you to sit on it until everyone else is comfortable with your potential. Sometimes people won't see the greatness in you until you show it to them, and even then, some won't acknowledge it, not because it's not real, but because your light makes them confront their own shadows. That's why you can't tie your growth to their applause. The shift happens when you stop waiting to be discovered and start working like you already are. When you stop playing small just because they don't see the big picture yet. You become dangerous to fear, dangerous to doubt, dangerous to anything that tried to bury you when you realize your yes to yourself is more powerful than their no to you. And the day you say, "I'm done waiting for permission," that's the day you stop being invisible, not because they suddenly start looking, but because you start showing up in a way that can't be ignored. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. There's a difference between pushing your way into rooms you don't belong in and walking into the ones you've been assigned to but were too scared to enter. And sometimes your next breakthrough is on the other side of you, finally stepping into your role without apologizing for it. Think about it. The people you admire, the ones you look at and say, "Wow, they're living their purpose." Do you think they sat around waiting for someone to validate them? No, they moved while they were still shaking. They spoke while their voice still trembled. They built while they were still unsure. They gave themselves the green light, and the rest of the world just had to catch up. So if you've been holding back, this is your moment to realize you already have the authority to start. You've been overqualified for too long to still be acting like a beginner. You've been trusted with the vision, equipped with the ability, surrounded by the lessons, but you keep waiting for a sign. Maybe this is it. Maybe these words are the sign you've been praying for. Stop waiting for permission to grow. Stop sitting at the edge of your own breakthrough like you need a committee to agree you deserve it. The world doesn't need another person who could have been great. It needs the one who decided to be, regardless of who clapped. Because when you finally move, when you finally build, when you finally speak, that's when the focus will shift and they won't be able to ignore what's been inside you all along. The problem with living in this world is that everybody's voice is so loud, you start to forget what your own sounds like. Everywhere you turn, someone's telling you who you should be, what you should do, how fast you should move, what you should care about. And it's not always malicious. Sometimes it's the people who love you the most who unintentionally drown out the whisper inside you. They mean well, but their vision is limited. They can only see what their own experiences have taught them. And if you're not careful, you'll start shaping your life around their noise instead of your truth. We live in an age where distraction is dressed up as connection. Notifications, opinions, trends, all fighting for your attention like it's their lifeline. And if you don't train yourself to tune out the unnecessary, you'll confuse popularity with purpose. You'll be so busy trying to keep up with what everybody else is chasing, you'll forget the reason you started in the first place. That's why there comes a time when you have to let the noise fade. You have to choose to get quiet, not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally, so you can finally hear the one voice that actually matters, the one inside you. That voice isn't frantic, it isn't desperate. It's not shouting to compete with the chaos, it's steady, constant, and patient. But it will not fight for your attention. If you don't slow down and lean in, you'll miss it, and missing it means missing yourself. Some of you have been running so hard trying to meet expectations that you've lost your own rhythm. You've been scrolling, comparing, imitating, adjusting, and in the process, you've disconnected from the very thing that makes you powerful, your authenticity. You've let the noise dictate your pace and your direction, and now you wonder why you feel exhausted but unfulfilled. The answer is simple. You've been moving to their beat, not yours. When you silence the noise, you create space to dream without interference. You give your soul a chance to breathe, to remember what it loves without having to justify it to anyone. And let me tell you, the most dangerous thing to the enemy of your purpose is a person who knows who they are and refuses to apologize for it. But you can't know who you are if you never hear yourself think. I know it's uncomfortable to step away from the noise because part of you is afraid you'll miss something. You think, if I don't keep up, I'll get left behind. But what if the thing you're so afraid to miss was never meant for you in the first place? What if the only reason you feel like you're behind is because you're measuring your life by someone else's ruler? There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop chasing after voices that don't feed your soul. It's the kind of peace that can't be posted, can't be liked, can't be retweeted because it's not for them. It's for you, and in that peace you start to see clearly. You realize that not every comment deserves a response. Not every opportunity is your assignment. Not every door is meant for you to walk through, and that clarity will save you years of wandering in places you were never meant to be. Sometimes God will even orchestrate silence for you. He'll strip away distractions, end certain connections, and close doors that you thought you needed not to punish you, but to position you. Because in the stillness, you'll finally notice that the path you've been looking for has been under your feet this whole time. But you can't hear that, you can't see that, if you keep letting the noise control you. There's a discipline to it, choosing to pull back, choosing to guard your ears and your heart from voices that only plant doubt. You have to become ruthless about what you let in, because what you let in will shape what comes out. You don't need the whole world to agree with your vision for it to be valid. You don't need everyone's blessing for it to work. What you need is alignment between your heart, your mind, and your steps, and that alignment can only happen when you're still enough to hear where you're supposed to go next. So today, make the decision to let the noise fade, to step back from the constant chatter, the pressure, the performance, and lean into the quiet where your real voice lives. Because when you finally hear it, when you let it lead, you'll stop trying to fit in with the noise, and instead you'll become the sound that changes the atmosphere. You can't just live for the moment you're in and expect to be ready for the life you've been praying for. The truth is, your future self is depending on the version of you that exists right now. The way you think, the habits you build, the boundaries you set, the people you choose to keep close, all of it is either preparing you for what's coming or keeping you from it. And if you don't take that seriously, you'll walk into opportunities unprepared, relationships unaware, and blessings unable to carry their weight. The person you're becoming is not built overnight. They're shaped by the small, invisible choices you make when nobody's watching. It's in those moments you decide whether you're setting yourself up for the version of you that's next or holding on to the version of you that's been. Some of you keep asking for more, but if more showed up today, you wouldn't know how to hold it. Not because you're not capable, but because you haven't done the work to become the person who can sustain it. Think about it, you can pray for the platform, but if you don't have the discipline to handle the pressure that comes with it, it'll crush you. You can pray for the relationship, but if you haven't healed the parts of you that keep sabotaging love, you'll end up repeating cycles. You can pray for financial overflow, but if you still have the mindset of lack, you'll waste it. That's why the season you're in right now is not just about surviving it. It's about preparing in it. Some of the things that feel like delays are actually training grounds. You think you're being overlooked, but you're being developed. You think you're stuck, but you're being strengthened. And if you can shift your perspective from why is this happening to me to what is this building in me, you'll stop resenting the process and start partnering with it. Because the process is not trying to keep you from your future. It's trying to make sure you're ready for it. When you start living with that mindset, you begin to make decisions differently. You stop feeding habits that keep you stuck in the same place. You stop settling for relationships that drain you. You stop spending your energy on battles that don't matter. Instead, you start showing up for yourself in a way that your future self will thank you for. And here's the thing, becoming that version of you isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it's lonely, sometimes it's inconvenient, sometimes it's frustrating because you're not seeing immediate results. But growth is like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's working. You keep watering it, trusting that something is happening beneath the surface. And then, one day, without warning, it breaks through the soil and becomes what it was always meant to be. That's you. That's your story. You might be underground right now, but that doesn't mean you're not growing. It means the roots are getting strong enough to support the weight of what's about to come. And when it comes, it won't just be about having the blessing. It'll be about having the capacity to hold it. You have to become intentional about what you allow into your mind and heart right now. You can't pour into the future you with negativity and expect greatness to bloom. You can't let everyone have access to you and expect to stay focused. You can't live for temporary comfort and expect to walk into lasting purpose. The future version of you is counting on you to make hard choices now so you can live with ease later. And here's the part most people miss. The transformation isn't just about what you gain. It's about what you have to let go of. Old mindsets, toxic cycles, comfort zones that kept you safe but small. You can't carry all of that into your next season. Sometimes becoming your future self means grieving who you used to be, but that grief is worth it if it makes room for the life you were meant to live. So, stop living like the person you are right now is the final draft. You are a work in progress, a masterpiece under construction, and every decision you make today is shaping the way your story unfolds tomorrow. Don't waste this chapter by only thinking about the moment you're in. Live in a way that makes the future you proud to call you the foundation they were built on. Because when that version of you finally arrives, the world will know you didn't just survive to get there, you prepared to become them. One of the quickest ways to lose your focus is to start looking too long at what everybody else is doing. It's so easy to scroll through someone's feed, hear about their win, watch them walk into a season you've been praying for, and feel like you're behind. You start questioning your progress, doubting your calling, and wondering if maybe you missed your turn. But you have to remember, what you're looking at is their highlight reel, not the whole story. You're seeing the polished moment, not the private process. You're catching the celebration, not the nights they cried themselves to sleep, the sacrifices they made, the failures they had to recover from. The danger of comparison is that it tricks you into thinking you're not enough, when in reality, you're just on a different timeline. Your chapter 3 will never look like someone else's chapter 20, and it's not supposed to. You were never meant to copy their journey. You were meant to commit to your own. And here's the truth. Some of the people you're comparing yourself to are looking at you the exact same way, wishing they had pieces of your story they can't get. But you can't see that because comparison blinds you to your own blessings. When you let yourself get distracted by someone else's lane, you end up drifting out of your own. You slow down, you second guess, you start chasing things you were never called to because they look like success from the outside. But real success is when you can walk fully in what's been assigned to you without needing it to look like anyone else's. You don't know the cost of someone else's calling. You don't know the weight they carry, the prayers they prayed, the battles they fought in the dark. And sometimes the very thing you're envying might be something you wouldn't even want if you had to carry it the way they do. That's why you can't let the illusion of perfection fool you into abandoning your purpose. Your lane was designed for you. The pace, the obstacles, the lessons, the timing, all of it is intentional. If you step out of it trying to mimic somebody else, you'll miss the very training you need for your own destination. You'll find yourself tired in a race that was never yours to run. And here's the part nobody tells you. Comparison doesn't just steal joy, it steals preparation. While you're looking over at them, you're neglecting the work in front of you. While you're studying their path, you're missing the signs God put on yours. And the enemy doesn't even have to destroy your destiny if he can distract you from it. It takes discipline to stay focused when other people's wins are loud and your progress feels quiet. It takes maturity to clap for someone else without feeling like you're losing. But when you understand that your purpose isn't in competition with theirs, you realize there's enough room for both of you to win. Their light doesn't dim yours, it just means the world gets brighter. So instead of comparing, start committing. Commit to your growth, your pace, your calling. Commit to showing up in your lane every single day, even when it feels slow. Because slow doesn't mean stuck, and hidden doesn't mean forgotten. Sometimes the most powerful seasons are the ones no one else sees, the ones where your roots are getting deeper, your character is getting stronger, and your faith is learning how to stand even when no one is watching. One day you'll step into a season where people see the fruit of what you've been building, and they'll think it happened overnight. They won't know the years you spent behind the scenes staying faithful when it felt like no one cared. They won't know how hard it was to keep going when you felt invisible. And they don't have to know, because you'll know. You'll know you stayed in your lane, you ran your race, and you didn't give up just because somebody else's story seemed faster. So stop measuring your worth by someone else's moment. Your story is unfolding exactly the way it's supposed to, and the only way to miss it is to keep looking everywhere but ahead. Because the more you focus on your lane, the more you'll realize that what's meant for you isn't just coming, it's already being built under your feet. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. Not everyone should have the kind of access that lets them influence your thoughts, drain your energy, or distract you from what you're building. Some of you are exhausted, not because your calling is too heavy, but because you've let too many unqualified voices into your process. You're trying to run your race while carrying the weight of their doubts, their drama, their constant need for you to show up for them in ways they would never show up for you. And you've convinced yourself it's just being there or being loyal, but really it's costing you your focus. Your energy is sacred. It's the fuel for your vision, the power behind your decisions, the atmosphere you create for yourself. When you let the wrong people have unlimited access to it, they'll drain it before you even realize it's gone. You'll wake up feeling heavy without knowing why, and it's because you've been letting other people's chaos dictate your peace. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's stewardship. If you don't guard it, you can't expect to sustain the things God is trying to birth in you. The truth is, not everybody can handle where you're going. Some people can only relate to the version of you they met. They're comfortable with your past, but they can't handle your growth. So when they feel you pulling away, when they sense you stepping into a new season, they start pulling on you in ways that keep you tied to where you've been. And if you're not careful, you'll start feeling guilty for protecting yourself, as if setting boundaries means you don't care. But boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. They're how you decide what gets in and what stays out. Sometimes you have to love people from a distance to protect the version of you that's being built. You can care for them, you can pray for them, but you don't have to give them access to your inner circle. You don't have to explain every decision, share every dream, or invite them into every struggle, because not everyone can handle your vulnerability without mishandling it. And it's not just about people, it's about environments too. Some places you've been going, some conversations you've been having, some atmospheres you've been sitting in, they're draining you more than they're feeding you. You can't grow in soil that keeps poisoning your roots. You can't expect to flourish in an environment that keeps trying to shrink you. Protecting your energy means being intentional about where you spend your time, who you listen to, and what you give your attention to. The enemy doesn't always attack with something obvious. Sometimes the attack is disguised as comfort, as routine, as familiar relationships that keep you from stretching. But if you keep giving your best energy to people and places that don't help you grow, you'll have nothing left for the assignment that does. You have to decide that your purpose is too important to let just anyone speak into it. It's not easy. It's going to hurt to limit access to people you've been close to for years. It's going to feel strange to say no to invitations you used to say yes to. But you can't be afraid to disappoint people when the alternative is disappointing the version of you that you're becoming. Here's what I've learned. When you start protecting your energy, the right people won't be offended. They'll understand because they're protecting theirs too. They'll respect your boundaries, cheer for your growth, and give you space when you need it. It's the wrong people who will try to guilt you, manipulate you, or convince you you're being different. And you are being different because different is necessary for where you're going. You can't carry everyone with you, and you can't keep giving your energy away like it's endless. It's not. Your vision requires fuel, your growth requires focus, and your spirit requires rest. Protect those things like they're non-negotiable, because they are. If you let just anyone in, they'll keep pulling you back into the version of you that you've already outgrown. So be wise about who you let close. Be intentional about what you let influence you. And never forget that the energy you protect today is the strength you'll need for the future you've been called to build. Because if you lose it to the wrong places and the wrong people, you might just lose the very thing you've been working for. The most powerful statement you will ever make is not with your words, but with your life. You can talk about change all day, you can post about it, declare it, announce it, but real transformation doesn't need a microphone. It doesn't have to prove itself in captions or quotes. When you truly begin to change from the inside out, the shift will be undeniable, and it will speak for you in rooms you haven't even walked into yet. The problem is, we live in a culture that's obsessed with showing results before they're even ready. We feel pressured to post every small step, to prove to people that we're evolving, as if their acknowledgement is the reward. But that's not how real growth works. Real growth is often quiet. It happens in the decisions you make when no one is watching. It's the choice to respond differently to the same situation that used to break you. It's the discipline to keep showing up when nobody is clapping. It's the strength to keep building without broadcasting every brick. The truth is, the people who doubt you don't need to be convinced, and the people who believe in you don't need proof. So why waste your energy performing for an audience that doesn't even have the power to write your destiny? Your life will speak when the time is right, and when it does, it will be louder than anything you could post, explain, or justify. Some of you are in a season right now where you're doing the work, but you feel invisible. You're wondering if it's even worth it because nobody seems to notice. But let me tell you, the seed doesn't get applause when it's in the ground. The seed grows in silence. And when it finally breaks through, no one questions whether it was there all along. They see the fruit, and that's the proof. Transformation is not about looking like you've changed. It's about actually being changed. It's about becoming so aligned with who you were created to be that you can't go back to the version of you that settled for less. It's about carrying yourself differently because your mindset has shifted, not because you're trying to impress anyone. And when that shift is real, it will spill over into every part of your life, your relationships, your work, your choices, your presence. Here's the beautiful thing. When the focus becomes you, it won't be because you shouted for attention. It'll be because people can't help but notice something different. They'll feel it before they can describe it. They'll see the glow before they understand the story behind it. And that's when you know your transformation is authentic, when it's not forced, when it's not rehearsed, when it just radiates without you having to try. There's a level of peace that comes when you stop trying to convince people and start concentrating on becoming. Because when you focus on becoming, you're not distracted by who's watching, you're not swayed by opinions, you're not slowed down by doubt, you're too busy building, healing, and evolving to be caught up in proving yourself. And make no mistake, the shift will draw attention, but by the time it does, you won't even need it. You'll be so grounded in your new self that their opinions, whether good or bad, won't change your direction. The focus will be on you, but the approval won't control you. That's when you know you've truly grown. So don't rush the process just to get recognition. Let your life be the announcement. Let your consistency be the evidence. Let your transformation be so undeniable that the same people who doubted you won't even recognize you, not because you've become someone else, but because you've finally become who you were always meant to be. Because in the end, the loudest thing about you won't be what you say. It'll be who you've become.